And Advaita means not to, or non-duality. And it's interesting that it starts from not to, because we can think of not to, at least we know what to is. There's a subject and an object. There's a golf club and a golf ball. There's a dart and a dartboard. There's two things. And so Advaita points to that's not that. It's not these two things. It's not a subject and an object. It's the absence of anything that's dualistic. But the interesting thing when it says it's not to, it goes from the known to the unknown. So in the statement of non-duality, Advaita, means not, Dvaita means to, or duality. The pointer itself is the process that we go through on the path as we're seeking. And that is, one, we say it's not this, it's not that, it's not that. When Sanskrit, it's called neti, 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 N-E-T-I. And at the same time, it's pointing beyond non-duality. It's not two-ness. So my first experience of this not two-ness was when I was about 17, a senior in high school. And I was working in a tennis club, and one Friday afternoon, they said they needed my help to move some furniture. And so I got out of the tennis club on that beautiful day as a custodian and working. And I was in the back of the pickup truck, beautiful fall day, and I was driving along this road, and out of nowhere, this little leaf caught my attention. And I was going, truck was going about 45 miles per hour, so. And out of all the things I could have seen, this little leaf captured my attention, and I went into an enrapturement. It was just caught of this beauty of this one leaf out of millions that I could have seen that day. And what I didn't know is I was in that mystical state where everything was one. And I moved the furniture and went back home. Couldn't tell my mother or anybody about this leaf experience, and I happened to be going to a party that night, and while everyone was intoxicated with drugs and alcohol, I was intoxicated with this leaf. And they thought I was crazier than being intoxicated with alcohol and drugs, because I was telling everybody about this leaf. And had I had a guru at that point, I could have processed it with the guru, but that wasn't my destiny. And like all mystical experiences of oneness, eventually dies down. And so by the weekend it died down. But I was wondering what happened. What happened to me? And so I started not taking things in school and whatever too seriously, because this leaf experience was more important to me. Then fast forward another 4 years, where I was going through college and doing the regular life. And I was at the Vedanta Societies. Are you familiar with them? Started by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Vivekananda and that lineage. And there was a Swami gave a talk, and I went, and it was somewhat, somewhat boring, talking about concepts or whatever. And there was a long line. There's probably about 50 or 60 people at the talk and lining up. And I thought, well, I'll just kind of sneak out on the side, go across the line. And he was shaking someone's hand, Swami was shaking someone's hand, and saw me and said, "No, don't go, come here." And I was trying to sneak out. And he shook my hand, and when he shook my hand, I felt this jolt of energy kind of go up my arm, through my whole body. And I kind of go, whoa, leave, and everything appeared like it was a movie, like I was in a movie, and Bala was not there. It was just this observing. It was like everything was like a movie. And I get in my car and I start driving, and I go, okay, well, the leave thing happened 4 years ago. I didn't have anybody to process with it. I'll go back. But by then it was, I don't know how many minutes had passed, or whatever, the doors were closed, and that's when I started seeking of what happened to me that night, this observing. And fast forward about another 4 or 5 years, and I ended up in an ashram in India, and trying to find out what this observing was. And I found out, at least I had a name for it. It's called the witnessing state. And so I go, oh, cool, it's called the witnessing state. And the witness in Sanskrit is called sakshi. And when you have this observing state, or when you're deeply engrossed in this witnessing state, it's called sakshi bhavana, Bhavana. And it's this deep feeling of witnessing encompasses your whole body. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to, for the next 3.5 years, practice this witnessing state. I want to get it back. That's what it was. So my job in the ashram was to tend to the garden, which basically meant carrying buckets of water from the faucet, about 600 yards, pour it into the trees, go back and do that for about 2 hours. And I got pretty ripped from carrying these buckets, which I've found out later is called a farmer's carry. And I would say, okay, the buckets are being poured, water's going into the bucket, I'm pouring the water in and all that, and I was trying to practice the witnessing state. And doing this on and off for about 3.5 years. And as I found that I was doing this practice and practice and practice, I got more depressed being in the ashram than when I entered the ashram. And luckily, I had, out of nowhere, I took a little break, about a week break from the ashram, and went to Goa. If you don't know where Goa is in sort of a little south of Mumbai now. And I was sitting on the beach, and I was thinking about, oh, I guess I'm going to go home, but didn't quite get what I wanted to get. And the beach was halfway between 2 towns. So I was in an isolated place. I was just going to go to the beach and sort of meditate, be by myself. And then out of nowhere, these 2 guys appear, and they start talking to me and say, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm in this ashram and think about going back to the United States. And he goes, oh, you should see this guy. And the book that he gave me was Wayne's guru, Ramesh. And I had seen Ramesh back in Los Angeles in 1987 on his first talk in the United States. And Wayne was there too. And so I go back to the ashram, go sneak off somehow back to Bombay and meet Ramesh. And it was there Ramesh was straightening me out. Because he was pointing out that you cannot practice this witnessing state. The witnessing state happens. And there's 3 stages, he said, to this witnessing state. And it all has to do with the intellectual understanding of these concepts of Advaita deepening until they become a conviction. And the first stage is I am witnessing. And as I was practicing I am witnessing, the reason why I got depressed is because I was increasing the sense of personal doership. I am doing this, I am doing this. I think I can get to the witnessing state. And as you learn these Advaita concepts, that you are not the doer, then the witnessing is happening by me, or by a me. So the I starts to fade back into this me. And then as the knowledge deepens from intellectual understanding to more experiential, then witnessing happens. So there's three states. I am witnessing. Witnessing is happening by me, where the me is more into the background, until finally the me dissolves and there's purely witnessing. And as long as there's a me, it's difficult for the me to conceive of itself being absent. But the matter of fact is that's what's happening all the time. There's witnessing, there's perceptions happening without the me. The me doesn't have to be there in order for things to happen. And when we think that the me needs to be there for things to happen, for things to be perceived, that's what we call is illusion, or Maya in Sanskrit. And so the sages have come up with this example of Maya or illusion with the snake and rope example. And you're walking along in the night with the moon shining so you can see a little bit with your best friend. And your best friend points to you in front of you and goes, oh, we better not go, there's a snake right there, there's a snake. And you see a snake, and you see it, and your heart is pounding, and your mouth is getting dry, and all the symptoms of being fearful are there seeing the snake. That's what your friend is saying. We gotta go another way. You look at the same object and you say, that's a rope. I see a rope. And your friend says, no, I see a snake. And you try to say to your friend, I see a rope. We don't need to be scared. And your friend is saying, I'm not making this up, feel my heart. And you put your hand on top of the chest of your friend and you feel a beating heart. And they're scared and they're shaking. They're not lying. They see a snake. And at the same time, you see a rope. So as much as you talk to your friend and say, don't worry, it's just a snake, they say, I can even see it hissing at me. And you're saying, no, it's just a rope. And that's what the sages are saying, is when the snake, that illusion, falls away and you perceive what is there as the rope. That is what enlightenment is. And that is when that sense of personal doership falls away, dissolves. So it's the absence of having this sense of personal doership. It's simply what it is. There's no bells and whistles attached. There's no extraordinary state attached to it. It's simply that sense of personal doership has fallen away. Or you see the rope now, where you used to see the snake. Body-mind mechanism, the personality, continues as it has been continuing since it was born, with its qualities and characteristics. So if that's clearly understood, then we know, and all the questions that will fall away about what is the sage like. If we know that it's just simply the falling away of personal doership, we won't ask Are you more peaceful now after enlightenment? Do your dreams change after enlightenment? Do you have better relationships? Do you earn more money? Has life gotten better for you after enlightenment? All those questions dissolve. Because the sense of personal doership has nothing to do with it. From the point of view of the seeker, there does seem to be a point before and after. But then think about the time when you actually do see the snake. Or some fearful response.
Right.
What we forget is when the sense of personal doership is not there, there's a more direct experiences of life and living. So when you do see a snake, or you see someone following you in a dark alley, you experience that fear or that concern directly